Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopichana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yeah, a little bit. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. Jai. So welcome everyone to this morning's class. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 13. This chapter is called Brahma Stealing the Boys and Calves. And we're covering texts 46 to 57. The focus verse is going to be text 50. So, we have a mic? Okay. Well, I'll just give a little bit of... No, go ahead. You can read the first one anyway. chapter 13, text 46 to 57. And we'll be focusing on 50. Okay, I'll read the first one. Then, while Lord Brahma looked on, all the calves and the boys tending them immediately appeared to have complexions the color of bluish rain clouds, and to be dressed in yellow and to be dressed in yellow silken garments. So what's happening here is that Lord Brahma, at first he has doubts, right? Whether this boy who's wandering around the forests of Raj, eating food and off the plates of his friends and laughing and joking and running around, whether this person, this little boy, is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he thinks, I'm going to test him. And so he does this test. He takes away all of his friends and all of his calves and puts them in a cave. And then he's like, okay, let's see what he's going to do now. So then Brahma comes back, and then he sees that although all the boys and calves that he took away and put in a cave are still in the cave, at the same time, all the boys and all the calves are still there. And they're doing all the pastimes just as if nothing had ever happened, as if he had never abducted the whole lot of them. So he's very bewildered, and he has no idea what's going on. He's like, what the heck? Like, what is this? And so Krishna he's having a little bit of fun with Brahma for a while, and then he decides to clear things up, right? He decides to reveal to him what actually is going on. So sometimes it's like this, Krishna will do things that put us in a state of confusion, right? We're really confused, like, Krishna, what is going on? Like, I do not understand this situation. Why is this happening to me or to someone else? What is going on? What's the problem here? And why isn't it being solved yet, right? So sometimes Krishna does that to us, right? Mother Nandini's nodding her head. Sometimes Krishna does that to us in very big ways, very confusing ways. But then there comes a point where he gives clarity, right? After some time, and it may be after years, right? Years go by and we're just in confusion. We're just like in frustration and desperation, not knowing what to do, not understanding. And then all of a sudden, ding, the lights come on and like, okay, now I understand why that happened. Now I understand what's going on. Now I can see what to do. And thank you, Krishna. Right? So this is now Brahma's having that, oh, now I get it. Thank you, Krishna. Moment where Krishna is revealing what actually happened is that Krishna expanded himself, and he personally became all of these boys and all the calves. And so he shows him that, like Prabhupada says here in the purport, while Brahma was contemplating, all the calves and boys immediately transformed into Vishnu Murtis, having bluish complexions, wearing yellow garments. And yes, he said Brahma was contemplating his own power and the immense unlimited power of Krishna, but before he could come to a conclusion, he saw this immediate transformation. So all the boys right in front of his eyes. So he's looking at them, he's seeing all these little boys, and he's seeing all these calves, and then right before his eyes, they just all transform. All the boys and all the calves transform into Vishnu forms, right? Standing there, full glory of the Lord with 4 arms and helmet and everything. And we're going to hear a little bit more about the description of these Vishnu forms. So let's, somebody please read the next 2 verses. Okay. All those personalities had 4 arms, holding conch shell, disc, mace, and lotus flower in their hands. They wore helmets on their heads, earrings on their ears, and garlands of forest flowers around their necks. On the upper portion of the right side of their chests was the emblem of the goddess of fortune. Furthermore, they wore armlets on their arms, the kaustubha gem around their necks, which were marked with 3 lines like a conch shell, and bracelets on their wrists. With bangles on their ankles, ornaments on their feet, and sacred belts around their waists, they all appeared very beautiful. So that's what Brahma's seeing, like millions of these forms. And so the residents of Vaikuntha, actually, they all have 4-arm forms. They all look very much like Vishnu, but there are some distinguishing features by which everybody can understand that, okay, this is Vishnu and this is a servant of Vishnu in Vaikuntha. There are 2 things. What are the 2 things that you know it's Lord Vishnu and not a devotee of Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha? And not in Vaikuntha, no peacock feather. The kaustubha gem. Yeah, so that's why I specifically mentioned here that he has the Kastuba gem. So that's a necklace with a gem that only Krishna wears, that necklace. Only Lord Vishnu wears that one. And also the mark of Srivatsa. These are the characteristics. So that proves, in case Brahma was thinking, oh yeah, okay, these are just some Vishnu associates of the Lord. No, these are the Lord. These are exactly the Lord. And Prabhupada says the Srivatsa mark is described in the Vaishnava Toshani as being a curl of fine yellow hair on the upper portion of the right side of Lord Vishnu's chest. He says this mark is not for ordinary devotees. It is a special mark of Vishnu or Krishna. So Krishna also has that little swirl of hair. Okay, text 49. Every part of their bodies, from their feet to the top of their heads, was fully decorated with fresh, tender garlands of tulsi leaves, offered by devotees engaged in worshipping the Lord by the greatest pious activities, namely hearing and chanting. So, we also see here that not only was he seeing so many Vishnu forms, but each one of those Vishnu forms was surrounded by countless devotees. There were they were surrounded by devotees, and these devotees are described as Bhuri Punyavad, that they're very, very pious. They're engaged in the greatest pious activity, which is arpita, which is worshipping the Lord. So they're not just standing there, but they're active. They're worshipping the Lord. They've got like all the paraphernalia of worship. They're offering chamara and peacock fan and ghee lamp and flowers and incense. They're worshipping. They're bowing down. They're singing, Vedic mantras and stutis, different prayers and verses. And there's a lot going on. And Tulsi, they're offering him so many Tulsi garlands, one after the other Tulsi garlands, so that it says here that from the head to toe they were covered with Tulsi garlands. We can see here that there's a lot going on, and the Lord is, it's a very dynamic scene. Okay. Is the mic going yet or no? It's working? Okay, go ahead and read the next one. Me? Those Vishnu forms, by their pure smiling, which resembled the increasing light of the moon, and by the sidelong glances of their reddish eyes, created and protected the desires of their own devotees, as if by the modes of passion and goodness. So we'll come back to this verse later. Text 51. All beings, both moving and non-moving, from the four-headed Lord Brahma down to the most insignificant living entity, had taken forms and were differently worshipping those Vishnu Murtis, according to their respective capacities, with various means of worship, such as singing and dancing. So, it's saying that all beings, it's not just that those Vishnu Murtis were surrounded by, like a few devotees, but it says all beings, both moving and non-moving, from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, they had taken forms and they were worshipping those Vishnu Murtis. So it was like unlimited beings there. And Jiva Goswami says it's not that every being from the universe was there, but that the presiding deities of all beings were there. So apparently there are presiding deities of different groups, right? The presiding deities of the deer, the presiding deity of the cows, the presiding deity of the trees, whatever, all different living, so that the one person was there representing that group, and that they were worshipping the Lord. So Prabhupada says here in the purport that innumerable living entities were engaged in different types of worship according to their abilities and their karma, but everyone is engaged. There is no one who is not serving. So everyone is serving differently, but there's no one that's not serving. And why? Because Jivera Swarapoi Krishnara Nityadas. Prabhupada quotes this verse, that because it's the eternal constitutional position of the living entity to be serving Krishna. And if something is eternal, if we are Krishnara Nityadas, that means we can't not serve Krishna. So even in the present conditioned state where, we see so many people are going about their day, doing their thing, animals are doing their thing in this world, it's not that they're not serving Krishna, right? Krishna says, Mama Vartmanu Vartante Manushya Partha Sarvasa, that everyone is following my path in all respects. So everyone is serving Krishna in some way, either directly and consciously, like we are, right? We come to the Srimad Bhagavatam class, we're chanting our rounds, we're doing services for Krishna knowingly. And then other people are doing service for Krishna indirectly and unknowingly by following the dictates of the laws of nature, right? Which are under Krishna's direction. By just the people's karma playing out. So they're serving under the direction of Krishna's Mahamaya potency, basically, his external potency. And devotees are serving under Krishna's internal potency. But everyone is serving Krishna in some way, knowingly or unknowingly, directly or indirectly. Nothing is happening outside of Krishna's control. So Prabhupada says, this is the vision of the Mahabhagavat, the topmost devotee who sees everyone as being engaged in the service of Krishna. Only himself he sees is not engaged. So he says we have to elevate ourselves. So the point is that everybody's serving Krishna, but he says some people are serving Krishna from a lower status, lower state of consciousness, and others are serving Krishna in a higher state of consciousness. And the whole point is that we need to, the task for us is to elevate ourselves from serving Krishna on a lower state of consciousness to serving Krishna in a higher state of consciousness. So even now, we are serving Krishna at something like a middle state of consciousness, right? We're like semi-conscious of Krishna. We're following the rules and regulations. We're doing what we need to do for our purification. And we like Krishna. We come see Radha Kalachandji. We like Radha Kalachandji. But it's not the way the Brajbasis are serving Krishna, right? It's not that level of intensity, that level of love. So Prabhupada says here that we need to elevate ourselves from the lower position to a higher position, and the topmost position is that of direct service in Vrindavan. Yeah, so that's what we need to come to, is to follow in the footsteps of the inhabitants of Vrindavan and serve Krishna with their mood, with their intensity of love, with that all, like that you can't forget Krishna. Even if you try, you can't put Krishna out of your mind. That everything that you do, every breath that you take, every step that you take is for Krishna, and with no selfish motivation at all. And Krishna says here that he compares it to a flower. So something very beautiful. It's a very beautiful analogy Prabhupada's saying. He's saying that as a flower in the bud gradually fructifies and yields its desired aroma and beauty, so when a living entity comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, the beauty of his real form comes into full blossom. That is the ultimate beauty and the ultimate fulfillment of desire. So this is our job, right? To open our devotional flower in our hearts, right? In relation to Krishna. So, and also to assist everyone, to bring others to that higher level of service, because everyone's serving Krishna, but they're the flower, the bud is also a flower, right? There's a flower inside the bud. You just can't see it. All you see is a green, closed capsule thing, right? But inside there's a flower. So we have to bring people to association, to the sunshine of Krishna, because by the sunshine of Krishna and by the water of hearing and chanting and all the processes of devotional service, then that bud the flower is going to open, and then it's going to slowly reveal itself and then come to the full state of blossoming. And so, those of us who are beginning Krishna consciousness, at least the bud is starting to open, right? There's some glimpse that, okay, I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul. There's something inside, right? There's I have a relationship with Krishna. At least theoretically, I can understand that. And I'm trying to realize that fully, but it's just kind of opening. It's like, okay, I'm an eternal servant of Krishna. What else? What else? What else about that? I have an eternal position. What is my position? What service do I do for Krishna? Who am I really, eternally in the spiritual world? So gradually that flower opens, and that whole thing will become visible to us. It will become manifest, revealed to us at a certain stage. So that's what we're working on. We're trying to just keep ourselves in the sunshine of Krishna consciousness, right? Krishna says, Krishna Surya Sama, that Krishna's like the sun. So we want to keep ourselves in the sunshine of Krishna consciousness, doing all the items of bhakti as Prabhupada has taught us, and staying out of the darkness of Maya, because in the darkness, what happens to the flower? It dies, right? It needs light. So we need to stay in the sunshine of Krishna and keep pouring the water. Water means Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, all the 9 processes of devotional service. And then it's gradually going to bloom, imperceptibly. Right? If you stare at a flower bud, you're not going to see anything. It looks like it's just nothing's happening. But if you do something like time-lapse photography, you'll see, right, that it's opening. Every second it's opening a little more. So these things become revealed to us so gradually that we don't perceive what's happening. We can't perceive even our own spiritual advancement sometimes, but it's happening. The flower is opening and everything will be revealed. So now we're going to see that it's not only the presiding deities of all the living entities, but it's also a lot of other things there surrounding Krishna and worshipping him. So text 52. All the Vishnu Murtis were surrounded by the opulences, headed by Anima Siddhi, by the mystic potencies, headed by Aja, and by the 24 elements for the creation of the material world, headed by the Mahatattva. Then Lord Brahma saw that Kala, the time factor, Swabhava, one's own nature by association, Samskara, reformation, Kama, desire, Karma, fruitive activity, and the Gunas, the 3 modes of material nature, their own independence being completely subordinate to the potency of the Lord, had all taken forms and were also worshipping those Vishnu Murtis. So that's crazy, right? All these things. So Brahma is seeing the personified forms. So these are the personified forms of all the elements, right? So apparently earth, water, fire, air, they all have their personified forms. They're presiding deities, and they're worshipping him. The mystic cities, Anima, Lagima, all these mystic cities, they also have their personified forms. They're worshipping Lord Vishnu. Even time, the time factor. So there's time personified, there's karma personified, there's samskara personified, there's kama personified, the personification of the 3 modes of nature. They're all there. Everything is there. So it's almost like the universal form, and that everything is there, but it's different because everything is worshipping Lord Vishnu. And Brahma's just seeing all this, and he's like, right? Mind-blowing experience. So we'll get back to this purport because there's some nice things here that I want to address, but we'll just go on with the verses for now. The Vishnu Murtis all had eternal, unlimited forms, full of knowledge and bliss, and existing beyond the influence of time. Their great glory was not even to be touched by the Gyanis engaged in studying the Upanishads. The Prabhupada here makes the point that in the purport he says, mere Shastra Gyan, or knowledge of the Vedas, does not help anyone understand the personality of Godhead. Only one who is favored or shown mercy by the Lord can understand him. So, and then he quotes this verse from the Mundaka Upanishad that says that the Supreme Lord is not obtained by expert explanations, by vast intelligence, or even by much hearing. He is obtained only by one whom he himself chooses. To such a person, he manifests his own form. So somebody might think, oh my gosh, even by hearing, we're coming every day hearing Bhagavatam, vast intelligence. So even if you're every day hearing the scriptures, studying the scriptures, even if you have vast intelligence, which you're applying diligently to try to understand the conclusions of the scriptures, even if you're listening to expert explanations by very realized devotees who can explain those scriptures nicely, still you're not going to be able to understand unless Krishna chooses to enable you to understand. So it just goes to show that we really need to please Krishna. We need Krishna's help. It's not just a mechanical thing that I'm going to do this, and that, and I'm going to understand Krishna, that I'm going to chant my 16 rounds, I'm going to come to Bhagavatam class every day, I'm going to hear from, great devotees, and that I'm going to understand Krishna. No. Krishna decides who understands him and who doesn't. And so what is it that's going to induce Krishna to choose us, right? To choose us as the person that he's going to empower to understand him, and that is bhakti, right? Krishna responds to devotion. So that's what he says in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Bhakti mam abhijanati, that only by devotional service can I be known. And Prabhupada he says that in in the purport. He says that although Krishna cannot be seen through the Upanishads, in some places it is said that Krishna can in fact be known. And then he says, Upanishadam Purusham, that he is known by the Upanishads. So Prabhupada says, this means that when one is purified by Vedic knowledge, one is then allowed to enter into devotional understanding. So we study, and then by that study we become purified, and then by being purified, then we come to bhakti. And then by bhakti, then we can know Krishna. So after lifetimes, right? Bahunam janmanam ante gyanavam mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudulabha. And he says that, and then what's that other verse? Oh yeah. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samamvita. So after many births and deaths, then one comes to understand that Krishna is everything. And then understanding that Krishna is everything, then that induces one to take to devotional service. And then by that devotional service, then we can know Krishna. And then when we know Krishna, something about Krishna, then we want to know more about Krishna. So then we keep studying the Shastras, but now with bhakti. And now, so when the Jnanis study the scriptures, they don't come to understand Krishna. Only after many lifetimes of a Jnani studying the same scriptures, when they come to bhakti and continue studying the scriptures, then they start getting the revelations. So that's very important. And here in this purport, Prabhupada gives so many references to prove that Krishna has a personal form. Because that's what's being emphasized here, is that Lord has a personal form, and the Jnanis cannot understand this. So, yeah, Prabhupada ends this purport saying, we should discuss Srimad Bhagavatam daily as much as possible, and then everything will be clarified. For Bhagavatam is the essence of all Vedic literature, Nigama Kalpatora Galitam Palam. It was written by Vyasadeva Mahamuni Krite when he was self-realized. Thus, the more we read Srimad Bhagavatam, the more its knowledge becomes clear. Each and every verse is transcendental. Okay, so continuing with the text. Thus Lord Brahma saw the Supreme Brahman, by whose energy this entire universe with its moving and non-moving living beings is manifested. He also saw at the same time all the calves and boys as the Lord's expansions. So he saw that Krishna is the absolute truth, the Supreme Brahman. Everything is included within Krishna. Then, by the power of the effulgence of those Vishnumurtis, Lord Brahma, his 11 senses jolted by astonishment and stunned by transcendental bliss, became silent, just like a child's clay doll in the presence of the village deity. So this is it's a very nice image. It reminded me of sometimes, you go to these Brajbasi temples. You go to the villages around Varshana or something, there's these little Brajbasi temples. And they're run by families, the family, they kind of like, they live there in the temple premises, and then there's the courtyard, and there's one of those beds, and the old man or old woman is out there on the bed, and there's some little grandchildren running around, and temple deity is there. So sometimes you might see the kids, they were playing in the courtyard there, just outside the temple or maybe inside the temple room, and then they drop their little doll there, this little clay doll or plastic doll, cloth doll, or whatever. Some little kids, ratty old doll is lying there on the floor because they got distracted by something. They left it there. And so there's the deity which is standing there after having been worshipped. The lamp is burning, the incense is still there, and the deity is looking very beautiful. And then there's this little old doll, that's been drooled on with kids' saliva stains on it, and food stains and dirt and everything else, just lying there on the ground, outside the altar. So Lord Brahma is feeling like that. He's feeling like the doll. He's feeling like that doll just dropped on the floor, lying there just limp and weak and small compared to the Lord. I thought this was a really nice imagery. Prabhupada said before he was thinking, Brahma had considered himself absolute, thinking himself the only powerful deity. But now his pride was subdued. So before he was thinking he was the deity on the altar. Now he's realizing he's just that doll lying on the ground. The real deity is Krishna. He's starting to see things in the proper perspective. Now our last verse for today. The Supreme Brahman is beyond mental speculation. He is self-manifest, existing in his own bliss. He is beyond the material energy. He is known by the crest jewels of the Vedas, by refutation of irrelevant knowledge. Thus, in relation to that Supreme Brahman, the personality of Godhead, whose glory had been shown by the manifestation of all the four-armed forms of Vishnu, Lord Brahma, the Lord of Sarasvati, was mystified. What is this? He thought. And then he was not even able to see. Lord Krishna, understanding Brahma's position, then at once removed the curtain of his Yogamaya. So this is something very amazing, right? So he's seeing all this, and all of a sudden, it all just goes black. It's like the curtain closes. You know, there's a drama. So this is happening. So Prabhupada, this metaphor is used that Yogamaya is like a curtain. Right? It's like a curtain that opens and closes. So and it's really interesting how this is happening multiple times throughout this pastime to Lord Brahma. So in the beginning, he's just seeing Krishna as an ordinary person, right? So Yogamaya curtain closed. And it's Yogamaya because Lord Brahma is a devotee. You know, to even see Krishna in Vrindavan is something exceptional. So he's observing Krishna's pastimes there in Vrindavan, and he's thinking, what is going on here? This little boy doing these like very ordinary things. This can't be God. So Yogamaya curtain closed. And then Yogamaya curtain opens, and he sees that Krishna's, that all of these expansions of the boys are there, but then closes again because he's like, wait a minute, how is this? He becomes confused again. Then the curtain opens again, and then he sees, these are all Vishnu expansions. So he's getting a deeper insight here. That his first insight was that I couldn't do anything to stop Krishna's pastimes, right? Now his insight is that these forms are all Vishnu forms. This is the universe, and this is everything. And then that closes, and now he's just like in the darkness. He can't see anything. It's like Krishna just removed his vision, and now he's going to open it again, and now he's going to see Krishna. All of those Vishnu forms disappeared, and now he's going to see Vrindavan. So tomorrow's class is going to be how Krishna manifests Vrindavan to Lord Brahma, and now Brahma is going to get this deeper insight that Krishna's greatness is not that he can manifest so many Vishnu forms. Krishna's greatness is not that he's the absolute truth that includes everything, material and spiritual, in all the universes. But Krishna's greatness is his love, is the sweetness that he displays in Vrindavan, in his loving relationships with all of his associates and the cowherd boys and the calves. And he's going to be able to see that. So that's like the ultimate, removal of the covering of illusion. He's going to see everything. So let's go back to our focus verse, which is text 50. Okay, we'll do the Sanskrit for this. Chandrika Vishada Smerai Saruna Panga Vikshitai Swakartanam Iva Raja Sattvabhyam Sastripalaka. Please chat. Chandrika Vishada Smerai Saruna Panga Vikshitai Swatakarnam Iva Raja Sattvabhyam Shastripalaka. Chandrika Vishada Smerai Sadhuna Panga Vikshitai Swakartanam Iva Raja Sattvabhyam Sastripalaka. Chandrika Vishada Smerai Sadhuna Panga Vikshitai Swakartanam Iva Raja Swakartanam Iva Raja. Chandrika Vishada Smerai Sarunapanga Vikshitai Swakartanam Iva Raja Sattvabhyam Shastri Palakai. Let's do the word for word. We can do this all together. Chandrika Vishada Smerai. By pure smiling like the full increasing moonlight. Sa Aruna Apanga Vikshitai. By the clear glances of their reddish eyes. Swaka Artanam. Of the desires of his own devotees. Eva, just as. Raja Sattvabhyam. By the modes of passion and goodness. Shastri Palaka. Were creators and protectors. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Those Vishnu forms by their pure smiling, which resembled the increasing light of the moon, and by the sidelong glances of their reddish eyes, created and protected the desires of their own devotees, as if by the modes of passion and goodness. Purport. Those Vishnu forms blessed the devotees with their clear glances and smiles, which resembled the increasingly full light of the moon. Shreya Kairiva Chandrika Vitaranam. As maintainers, they glanced upon their devotees, embracing them and protecting them by smiling. Their smiles resembled the mode of goodness, protecting all the desires of the devotees, and the glancing of their eyes resembled the modes of passion. Actually, in this verse, the word Raja means not passion, but affection. In the material world, Rajagun is passion, but in the spiritual world, it is affection. In the material world, affection is contaminated by Rajagun and Tamagun, but in the Shuddha Sattva, the affection that maintains the devotees is transcendental. The word Swakartanam refers to great desires. As mentioned in this verse, the glance of Lord Vishnu creates the desires of the devotees. A pure devotee, however, has no desires. Therefore, Sanatana Goswami comments that because the desires of devotees whose attention is fixed on Krishna have already been fulfilled, the Lord's sidelong glances create variegated desires in relation to Krishna and devotional service. In the material world, desire is a product of Rajagun and Tamagun, but desire in the spiritual world gives rise to a variety of everlasting transcendental service. Thus, the word Swakartanam refers to eagerness to serve Krishna. In Vrindavan, there is a place where there was no temple, but a devotee desired, let there be a temple, and seva, devotional service. Therefore, what was once an empty corner has now become a place of pilgrimage. Such are the desires of a devotee. This is so sweet. So Prabhupada is talking about how, the verse mentions Raja Sattvabhyam, is talking about how by the modes of passion and goodness, the Lord's eyes, the Lord's glance created and protected the desires of the devotees as if by the mode of passion and goodness. So idea is that desire is born of the mode of passion. And so he's comparing it to the mode of passion, but because it's the Lord, it's not the mode of passion that pushes us towards material desires, that pushes us towards unending lust and greed in this material world. But that Rajagun here is about affection, right? Because lust is just the perverted transformation of love, of real love. So in the material world, Raja manifests as lust. But in the spiritual world, Raja has its spiritual component, which is love or affection. And so when the Lord is glancing with his eyes full of affection, then that love is producing desires, right? Because Raja produces desires, but those desires are not material desires, they're spiritual desires. So when he looks at, he casts his loving glance, his glance of spiritual Raja, of affection, of love on his devotees, then that Raja manifests as desires to serve Krishna. So this is something very beautiful, and shows that everything has its spiritual component, right? This material world is the perverted reflection, that all the varieties that are here are also in the spiritual world, but in their pure forms and with everything focused on Krishna, everything centered on Krishna. And so Srila Prabhupada mentions at the end of this purport his own spiritual desire. So he says very humbly, he says, in Vrindavan there is a place where there was no temple, but a devotee desired, let there be a temple. Let there be devotional service in this place. So of course we know who that devotee is, Srila Prabhupada. right? He went to that place in Ramanreti and he said, let there be a temple. Right? That's the title of Giriraj Swami's book, right? In Juhu. He went to Juhu also. Let there be a temple. So he had this desire, and he's saying that that by Krishna's grace, it manifested. Therefore, so he's saying that that desire was produced by the glance. Krishna glanced upon his devotee. Krishna glanced upon Srila Prabhupada, and by that loving glance, that affectionate glance, he produced within Prabhupada's heart that desire. He inspired the desire within Prabhupada that let me build a temple in this place. And so then the temple manifested, because Krishna gives the desire and he also fulfills the desires by all of his arrangements and facilitation. And so we can see here that we'll get back to this. I want to show you Tulsi Saki is going to put some videos up, and these are really Achyuta Govinda Prabhu was mentioning yesterday that these are the last purports that Srila Prabhupada actually dictated. And we're going to see the condition in which Srila Prabhupada dictated these purports. So don't play it yet, but just get it ready there on the screen. I want everyone to turn to the actual place that Prabhupada is dictating. So that is, if you have your devices, because you won't be able to see it on the screen while the video is playing. So if you have a book or device, then please go to text 53. And then 53 is a very long purport, but we're going to hear two parts of that. The first part that we're going to hear is, let's see, it's the paragraph that starts Kala, or the time factor has many assistants. But it doesn't start from the beginning, it starts towards the end of that paragraph. So go to text, chapter 13, text 53, and it's the second paragraph that starts with Kala. Go to the end of that paragraph. The second to last sentence of the paragraph starts, therefore by hearing and discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. Did you find it? You all there? Okay, so we're going to hear, so Tulsi Saki, you're starting here at 8 minutes 44 seconds, yeah? Or just before? And this is just going to be a couple minutes. So what you're going to see, you can follow along. You can look at the video, and also you can follow along in the purport, and you're going to see how Prabhupada is speaking this purport. And of course it's been edited, so it's not verbatim like what he's saying. There's exactly what's written, but it's basically there. It's all there, and you can see how that's there. 8:44, yeah. Or you can put like just before, like 8. That's a little after. 8. You can put like 8:37 or something. I just start from there. That's fine. It's a matter of a few seconds. So just see the condition that Prabhupada is in when he's dictating this. Go ahead. No. Now just, you can go ahead in the purport, same purport. We're going to see it. Same purport, we're going to see a different part of it, which is, so go down to skip a few paragraphs, and then you come to a paragraph that starts, as far as kama and karma. You got it? As far as kama and karma. Yeah, so Prabhupada's the next section is, he's speaking from that paragraph. And that starts at 6 minutes, 23 seconds. See, it's before. Yeah. This one you're going to like because you're going to see, it scrolls out. So you'll see there's a devotee that's sitting by the side of Prabhupada's bed. He's his scholar servant. He's got the book there, and he's reading from Sanskrit commentaries. He's saying a few words, and then Prabhupada is saying yes, and then he'll speak. So it's amazing how in this condition, Srila Prabhupada, literally his body is skin and bones. He's in so much pain. He's, this is 3 weeks. This is happened on, it'll show the date, I think it's October 21st. Srila Prabhupada passed away on November 14th. It's 3 weeks before he left this world. So devotee, now the next one is all scrolled out, right? Sorry, zoomed out. And you can see more devotees. So you'll see Tamal Krishna Maharaj is there at the head of his bed. And then Jayadvaita Maharaj is the one holding the mic. So he's the head of the BBT. He's surrounded by his disciples. And the devotee is by his bed with the book. And he's saying some things. And Prabhupada is it's amazing how lucid Prabhupada was. Prabhupada was just so clear. Even in that situation, he's giving these very amazing, very scholarly purports. He's quoting Sanskrit shlokas and everything, So, okay, you can just scroll back. Yeah.
This is karma hetu. Karma hetu is when devotional service we get a different nature, and if we engage in the business of sense gratification, we get unfeasible. And then the karma is that they hope a love the hetu. Yeah. And according to the appreciation of different nature, we get a body, karanam gunasammatta satasat janmayam. Therefore, we should always seek good association, devotee association. Then our life will be successful. And last it says the gunas, satvadayo, jnana vikshepa moha hetavah. If we live with good association, then we cultivate knowledge. That means appreciation. And man is known by his company. So, if we have the chance of association with devotees, then our character, nature, will only by hearing, by discussing,
We can see there that Prabhupada's, even though he's in such a weak physical condition, he's you can see he's actually speaking quite strongly, right? Did you feel when he said, when he was talking about association and so forth, he was you could feel some power in his voice, even in that, like, very weak physical condition. Yeah, it's very poignant, right, to see Prabhupada in that situation. And what went into these purports, Prabhupada's purports. So, yeah, we have to really... Oh, sorry. Yeah, what went into Prabhupada's purports, how much, this is like, Prabhupada, like, he was dying, he was, not that the devotee dies, but he was leaving this world, and he was like, I have to give them the Bhagavatam, I have to give them this knowledge. And it struck me how, when Srila Prabhupada arrived on the Boston Harbor, and he composed, he was in the Jaladuta, and he composed that poem, Markine Bhagavat Dharma. So he's thinking, how am I going to spread this movement? I'm just one man, and then he quoted that series of verses from the Bhagavatam, right? Talking about how Nastaprayeshu Abhadreshu, that by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that's inauspicious in the heart can be almost completely removed. Loving devotional service can be established. And then when service is established, then, tada rajas tamo bhavo, that the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance are removed from the heart, and one can become situated in goodness. And these are the same points. Like, Prabhupada came into his mission saying these points, and he went out of this world. He wrapped up his mission saying the same exact points. He's making the same points here, right? He's talking about the importance of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, the importance of association, the importance of coming to the mode of goodness. And, it's like, it's the same thing. It's like, this is the process. This is what we need to do. We need to associate with devotees, right? He said, a man is known by the company he keeps. We need to seek the association of, seek good association. That was one of the things that he said very strongly. He's like, therefore, we should always seek good association, right? Like, some of the other things were a little, like, his voice was a little soft and a little slurred. It wasn't clear. But when he said that, it was like, therefore, we should always seek good association. A man is known by his company. So there's something Prabhupada felt very strongly about, and talking a lot about Sattva Gun, and again, quoting that same verse. He quoted that verse, Tada rajas tamo bhavo kamaloba dayaschaye. By hearing and discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, the Rajagun, Tamagun are subdued, so the only Sattva Gun remains. And then Tamagun and Rajagun cannot do us any harm. They're only going to do us good at that stage, right? Like we were hearing. Then they become desires to serve the Lord, and the Lord will fulfill those desires. So another thing we see that Prabhupada is in Vrindavan. We can go there to Prabhupada's room, and we can see that exact same scene. Just like you saw it there, that same bed is still there. The same bed that Prabhupada was lying on is still there. The room is almost exactly the way it was when Prabhupada was there. So that place has been preserved like a museum. And some of us have been there, and some of you will go there in the future, and you can remember Prabhupada lying on that bed and dictating his Bhaktivedanta purports for us. But Prabhupada died, and Prabhupada, not that he died, I don't like to use that word, but Prabhupada left this world satisfied. He left the world very satisfied, and we can observe that in his purports here, right? Like we were reading about the, in text 50, we were reading that in Vrindavan there is a place where there was no temple, but a devotee desired, let there be a temple and seva, devotional service. Therefore, what was once an empty corner has now become a place of pilgrimage. Such are the desires of a devotee. So Prabhupada is lying there, and he's lying in that place. He's like in the place where he had the desire, where the desire was fulfilled. And he's feeling like, yes, this place that I had this desire, Krishna fulfilled my desire. I'm so happy. And he also said in the previous purport at the end, he says, in our Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, there is a tamal tree that covers an entire corner of the courtyard. Before there was a temple, the tree was lying neglected, but now it has developed very luxuriantly, covering the whole corner of the courtyard. This is a sign of Bhuri Punya. So that Bhuri Punya means the pious activities, the devotional activities of the devotees. So you can see that Prabhupada was very pleased. He didn't die a disappointed man. You know, he didn't leave this world frustrated. He left very satisfied, very fulfilled that, you know, that he had really done something substantial in Krishna's service. And that Tamalchi, he said that sometimes he would say that Tulsi Devi is like a barometer of devotion, that if the Tulsi is healthy and thriving, then that means that there's a high level of devotion in the temple or in the home, wherever that Tulsi plant is. And so he said the same thing about that Tamal tree, that the Tamal tree, if it flourishes, if it's thriving, then that's a barometer of devotion. So he makes this point here that I'm so happy to see the Tamal tree thriving. And so Prabhupada left with great hope that the Tamal tree is thriving, the temple that he desired is there, he's surrounded, you know, by his disciples, his leaders that he has faith in, that are going to carry on his movement, and he laid the foundation, and it's going to grow. It's not going to be like his spiritual master's institution, that after his departure it was destroyed. It was basically split up and dismantled, broken into pieces. It's just very moving. I find it very moving to see Prabhupada in this situation, to see his mood, to see his accomplishments, to hear his message, and to understand the importance of that. So what we're doing right here, right now, just sitting in the Srimad Bhagavatam class, is so important in so many levels, right? We're seeing that at the end of his life, Srila Prabhupada was dictating Srimad Bhagavatam. That shows how important this Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is. Also, what is he dictating? He's dictating the Bhagavatam purports, but what is he saying? He's talking about the importance of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So he's giving us Srimad Bhagavatam, and in the Srimad Bhagavatam, he's telling us the importance of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam regularly in the association of devotees, and he's saying it with his last breaths. So what we're doing right now is the fulfillment of Prabhupada's desire. And Prabhupada, that's one thing that he established very soundly in all of his temples, is morning program and the Srimad Bhagavatam class. And, you know, when he would, seeing that he's established these temples all over the world and that devotees are coming, they're coming for Mangalarti, they're coming for Guru Puja, they're coming for Bhagavatam class, he's thinking, okay, as long as the devotees are hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and associating in association with each other, this movement will go on. That was Prabhupada's hope. That's how he could leave this world content and knowing that it will go on, is because devotees were continuing to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. And so he knew that if we do this, then the lust, the greed, the anger, the envy, these qualities will be purified, they'll be removed. And because these are the qualities that will destroy the movement. You know, that when people become too greedy, and then there becomes corruption, or people become envious, and then they split things. There's like fighting between the devotees, or there's, you know, lust, and devotees are just carried away, and they leave back into the ocean of material enjoyment out there, so-called enjoyment. So he had faith that if devotees just keep on, just from the beginning on the Jaladuta, he thought, what can I teach them? But I have faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have faith in the Bhagavatam, that if I just give them this Bhagavatam in the process of chanting, they will be purified and they'll be able to become devotees. And then he left seeing that, yes, they're doing the purifying processes. They're coming to Bhagavatam class. They're chanting the holy names. They're staying together. They're associating with each other. There will be problems, but they will be solved because of the Bhagavatam. This culture of hearing, discussing Bhagavatam amongst devotees. So we need to continue, right? Even if there's not many of us, but at least we're keeping the ball rolling, right? We're keeping the life of the morning program. And so those who are hearing online or hearing later, at least hearing is there. And so the more we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, the more we'll be purified, the more strong we'll be, the more our anarthas will be removed, and this movement will become strong, because this is the foundation. Foundation is the holy name and the Srimad Bhagavatam, and everything is resting on that. So, Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So any, I can repeat, yeah. Okay. What is Govinda's question? What's that? Few of our tulsis are left. Oh, uh-oh. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's natural that over the winter, Tulsi always struggles a little bit because of the climate, right? Regardless of our devotion, Tulsi's in an unfavorable, cold weather, right? Govinda? They're still alive. Good. So devotion is still alive. The fact that if you can get your Tulsis to survive the winter, then that's devotion, because it's difficult to keep Tulsi going through the winter. Yes, Mother Nandini? Mm. Yeah. Make me dance. Yeah. Just let me repeat because they can't hear you. So Mother Nandini is referring to the poem that Prabhupada wrote on the Jaladuta, where he's saying that I'm totally helpless. I have no power, to make people devotees, to make them understand your message. But Lord, you please, I have faith in you. You can do it. I can't do it, but you can do it. So please just use me as your instrument. Just make me your puppet and pull the strings and make me dance, make me dance, make me dance as you like. He signs that off as your most insignificant beggar. Yeah, that I'm just begging for your mercy because I can't do it. I'm an insignificant person. I have no power. But I'm begging. You need to do this. And Krishna did amazing things through Prabhupada, right? Yeah. Prabhupada was that's who he was. He was a Shakti Avesh avatar. He came to this world not as an ordinary person who's born because of their karma and their ignorance, but he came as a messenger of Krishna. Krishna sent him here, and he empowered him. So he was Shakti Avesh. He was empowered with Krishna's Shakti, Krishna's potency, his internal potency, to be able to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And he did that so gloriously, from beginning to end. Yes. I've heard that said. Yeah, I'd have to see a reference. I'm sure there are many things that Prabhupada, wanted to develop. Varnashram was definitely one of them. I think he said that 50% of my work has been done. The other 50 is Varnashram. Yeah. But Varnashram he speaks about here in this purport that we heard him saying it from his own mouth here, talking about how Varnashram is necessary for bringing people to the mode of goodness, right? Where is that? Yeah. Varnashram is essential for it can bring people to sattva gun. Yeah, because Varnashram is for, if devotees are hearing and chanting, that will bring them to sattva gun. But he could see that, as we see every morning, that not so many devotees are hearing and chanting Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Even amongst our devotee community, it's something that they are not able to squeeze into their life with their busy schedule. What to speak of people who are not devotees? They're not hearing anything. So therefore, so then what hope do they have to come to Sattva Gun? Their hope is Varnashram Dharma. that by doing their prescribed duties, and connecting them to Krishna in Devi Varnashram, then they can gradually get purified just by acting according to their nature. If they don't have the higher nature to come and hear Srimad Bhagavatam and chant the holy names in Kirtan, then at least work with whatever nature you have, whatever nature you do connect with, your psychophysical nature, your conditioned nature, at least engage that appropriately, right? Because people don't even do that. They have a certain nature, but they're doing a career which is totally different from their nature, and they just end up frustrated and, tired and angry and miserable. So at least understand your nature, connect your nature to your livelihood and your career, and connect that to Krishna. And then you can come to Sattva Gun. Yes. Yes. So if anyone needs help learning about their nature and how to connect it to their career, I can help you with that. I have a certification for that. Yes. Yeah. Just wait. I just remembered something that I wanted to say when you said that. Hold that thought, okay? In tomorrow's class, I didn't let her say what she was saying. I interjected because I had a thought that I know I'll forget if I don't say it now. This is important. So the last section is tomorrow's section. It's a very important section in which Krishna is revealing Vrindavan to Lord Brahma. And so Prabhupada he's reciting that, and he's commenting. He's dictating his purports about Vrindavan. So Prabhupada is in Vrindavan. He's physically in Vrindavan, in Krishna Balaram Mandir in Vrindavan, and he's reading this section which is describing Vrindavan, describing the beauty of Vrindavan, the glory of Vrindavan, the loving exchanges between the associates of Vrindavan, and then he just goes back to Goloka Vrindavan. It's just the perfect time. It's just the perfect. You can see how Srila Prabhupada, as he's dictating the Bhagavad, he's there. He's literally there. He's like living this. It's not an academic exercise. It's not like an intellectual exercise. Prabhupada is like entering into this pastime. When Krishna is describing Vrindavan, Prabhupada is in Vrindavan. He's literally in Vrindavan. He's mentally in Vrindavan. He's emotionally in Vrindavan. He's like there. And so when it comes to this point where this Vrindavan consciousness becomes so intensified, then we can imagine that Prabhupada's separation from Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan is becoming so strong that he's just like, I have to go. Right? This is Krishna's calling me, I have to go. And he just leaves. And he reunited with Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. So, yes. All right. Lalita Sundari. All the children have questions today. Very good. Okay, what is Jaishnav's question? Uh-huh. Okay. Mm. Okay, so Jaishnav is saying that Madhva Acharya, he was writing his commentary on this very chapter, Brahma Vimohan Leela, and he also left his body at the end of this pastime. So this is one to leave on. Remember that. At the time when you're leaving your body, or if you're at the bedside of somebody who's leaving their body, read this pastime. This is the pastime that takes you home. Yes. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So Lalita Sundari is asking, now I have to remember all the questions, that, okay, say it again, piece by piece, because I need to repeat. Okay, wait, so just if we're just hearing and chanting Srimad Bhagavatam, it's not necessarily that Krishna is going to glance on us. He'll glance on us only when we have bhakti. But isn't bhakti hearing and chanting? So, okay, yeah. So there's different, the activities of hearing and chanting can be done mechanically, or ritualistically, right? Like kind of like you come to the Bhagavatam class, you're here, but you're kind of not here, right? Like you're here, you're scrolling on your phone, or you're here, you're thinking about what you need to do later, or you're here just because you have to be, or your parents are forcing you, or your ashram leader's forcing you, or you're doing it as a matter of duty because you feel like, okay, I'm a devotee, this is what I should do, this is what Prabhupada wanted, but you kind of like checked out, So or there's you're coming, but wow, we're going to hear about Krishna today. This is amazing. I want to learn about Krishna. I want to become closer to Krishna. I want to hear other devotees' perspectives on this pastime. I want to really enrich my Krishna consciousness. I want to just soak it in. I want to be there. I want to nourish I'm hoping my love for Krishna is going to awaken from hearing, and I'm just going to like put everything aside and be totally here with rapt attention, with full faith in these narrations, making this my life and soul. The purpose of my life is like fulfilled right here in this room right now. When we hear like that, then there's going to be a transcendental explosion in the heart. Right? That's what it talks about. That's what it says. Bhagavatam says that how does it start? That verse that says that as soon as one attentively and submissively hears these messages of Bhagavatam, then the Supreme Lord is at once by this culture of knowledge, there's a culture of knowledge, right? Then we have to have the right culture. By this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is at once established within the heart. What's the verse? No, that's not the one. It's in the beginning. It's definitely in Canto 1. Is it the Supreme, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is at once established within one's heart. Is it? Maybe it is. We can look it up. Anyways, yeah. So what he's saying is that when we have the right culture of knowledge, right? When we're hearing with rapt attention, when one submissively, what's the other word? Submissively and, help me Gokulananda. Submissively and attentively. When one attentively and submissively hears the message. So there has to be a quality. There's a quality of our hearing. That when we have devotion, then we're going to be attentive. We're going to be here with rapt attention, right? Like a fish that doesn't close its eyes, right? Doesn't blink. Like fish don't blink. They don't have eyelids. Did you find it? Yay. That's what I was thinking. Okay, Dharma Projitikaita Vocharaj. It's 112. So I'll just read completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavat Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the messages of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. So when we have this culture of knowledge, where we hear attentively, we hear submissively, we hear regularly, right? Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, then the Lord is established within the heart. Then we come to the mode of goodness. But there's a quality to it, right? So we're coming, but it's just like everyone's serving Krishna, but some are serving on a lower level and some are serving on a higher level. So the same way, we're hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, but sometimes we're hearing on a lower level and sometimes we're hearing on a higher level. And we're hearing on a lower level, then we're going to get a lower result.